Hey, what's going on, everybody? We're getting started here in just a second, setting up the Instagram live so that everybody can come over from Instagram onto the YouTube. Guys, if you're on the YouTube, if you're on the Instagram, comment the word YouTube to head over to the YouTube. Tonight, we're going to be doing a solo episode. My man Sam had to go take care of his dog. So, shout out to Sam for being a good dog dad. Guys, let's jump right into it. I want to start off by saying this: money is not your money problem. I already know some people are going to get annoyed with that. They're going to get upset with that, but that's the reality. We often get caught up in thinking that me not having enough money is the reason I don't have enough money, but money is not the root of your money problem. In fact, you're going to see that you don't need any money to produce money. That whole thing about it takes money to make money, that's totally made up. You don't need money, does not come from money. Money comes from your imagination. Money comes from your ability to go out and create value. So tonight we're going to be starting this conversation off with a quick whiteboard session, and we're going to talk about the value creation ladder, because this is something that when I learned this from mentor Myron Golden. When I learned this from Myron, it shifted the way I interacted with the marketplace, and it was probably one of the most valuable things he ever taught me. So I'm going to jump into that later around maybe 15 minutes or so. We're going to have a guest come on if he makes it in time. He had to go take care of his kids, but hopefully we're going to get a guest on tonight. But without further ado, what's up, Deborah? Let's go ahead and jump right into this. By the way, guys, do me a favor. If you're in the YouTube, comment where you're joining in from. But let's go ahead and bust out the whiteboard session. So I love this because I learned this value equation, like I said, from Myron Golden. So let's go ahead and get that off the screen. And I'm going to draw this out here for you. This is the value ladder. And you're going to see there's going to be 4 steps on this value ladder. And what's interesting about this is there's going to be a line of demarcation on this second part of the ladder. But when we talk about the value ladder, the higher up we go on the value ladder, the more money we can make. And so at the lowest rung on the value ladder, you've got what we call implementation. Hopefully I'm spelling this right. All right, guys, I definitely didn't spell implementation right, but here's the cool thing. You don't need to be a good speller to make money. So implementation is the lowest level of value. And when I talk about this being the lowest level of value, what is implementation? It's simple. This is actually going out and doing the work. So I like to use this example of, let's imagine I worked at McDonald's. As an implementer, I might be the fry cook or the person that works the cash register, the janitor, whatever it is. I actually do the thing. So I flip the burgers, I cook the fries, I collect the money. I'm an implementer. The issue with being an implementer is your salary is kept usually between 0 to about 100K, if even that much. Really, it's usually lower than that, but in certain states, the minimum wage is going up. I'm actually going to go ahead and say it's lower than that because, quite honestly, 100K is very generous. You're often not paying an implementer 100K. You're paying them closer to 50K, right? These are implementers, the people that are actually doing the work. Now, recognize this. You're still providing value to the marketplace as an implementer, and that's why you're getting paid ultimately. Money is a product of value. Money is a effect. The cause is you've given value. Just at the level of implementation, you give the lowest level of value that's possible for you. So maybe you're in real estate and this is you being the cold caller, or perhaps you're just underwriting the deals, or you're comping, or you're taking photos. You're an implementer at this level. Therefore, you're only going to earn implementation money. And it's capped around $50,000 a year is typically the most an implementer is going to make until they get to the next level, which is that of a organizer. So at this next level, you got organizers, you got managers. These are effectively people who collect implementers and put them together and get them moving in the same direction. So think about this like if we go back to the McDonald's analogy, think about this as being the manager on the morning shift. The manager on the morning shift, his job or her job is to effectively manage 5, 6, 7 employees. So the manager is in charge of the cash register. They're in charge of the person making the French fries. They're in charge of the person flipping the burgers. So they're effectively in charge of all the lower level implementers. And as a result, they're able to make on average between 30K to 150K, somewhere around that ballpark, right? These are what your managers are going to be making because ultimately they are now able to be more effective since they control and direct multiple people. Now, they're still on the lower rung of value, but they are more valuable than just a single implementer because, again, these people, they get everybody rowing the boat in the same direction. At that lowest level, I can easily replace a level one implementer. It's as simple as hiring a new cash register, hiring a new employee in that position. They're very easy to train, they're very easy to replace. As you go up the rung, it's a little bit more difficult to replace these individuals, right? It's a little bit more difficult to find a manager who can effectively organize people and get them moving in the same direction. But still, on this side, if you guys are familiar with Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant, this is still, these are left-sided values. In other words, on this side of value, you're on the lower end of your earning potential, of your earning capacity. You want to be able to earn more. You want to start to make more money and master money. You've got to start to develop this next level of value, which is what I'm doing right now. This is communication. So what's interesting about this is I learned that when I started getting better at communicating, I started earning more money. In fact, I had this conversation with a student the other week. I was telling them that I had this surreal moment where I noticed in my life, I got to the place where I get paid to communicate. I get paid to talk. Think about this, right? What do I do in my business? For the longest time when I was in real estate, I was doing sales. I was doing my acquisitions and I was closing deals. Then I started to get to the place of doing coaching. And then I got to the place of doing, even higher level activities like going and speaking on stages. All of these things were me communicating and me getting paid for. And I was breaking six figures a month doing this. What's cool about this is when we look at communication as a level, let's come back to this. When we look at communication as a level, this is, you could be making anywhere on the low end between 100K upward to 10 million. Really, you could be making even more than that. But let me explain. Communication, most people think about communication and you think of sales, right? Where if you've got a good sales job on the low end, your commissions are going to be bringing in at least a six-figure salary if you're good at what you do. But let's look at people that do communication at an even higher level. You've got folks like Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Kevin Hart, right? These are people that go out and they're actors, they're comedians, Joe Rogan. They are able to make more money because with their skill of communication, they're able to get many hundreds of thousands of people all feeling and moving in the same direction. Communication is a high level skill. Communication is a high level skill that if you start to learn and you start to master, you're able to bump yourself over that line. And now you're able to start to earn more. I value communication as one of the most valuable skills in my tool bag. And it's something that I recommend if anyone's a newer entrepreneur, if you're still in the place of, hey, I need to make more money, I would start working on my communication skills immediately. Reading books like How to Win Friends and Influence People has been one of those helpful books. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. These are the sort of things that I would be taking in and practicing daily. I'd be role playing with people. I'd be doing sales calls. I'd be talking to strangers, right? If you're going to be in the position where you want to earn more, your communication skill is going to have to level up. Okay. And from there, the highest level of value is going to be what we call innovation, right? Innovation at this level, right? You're earning a minimum of $1 million to basically infinite, like just billions of dollars. At innovation, you're talking about the Steve Jobs of the world. You're talking about the people like when I say innovation, Steve Jobs created the iPhone, and fundamentally, at the level of innovation, you change how humanity operates. You change, like Elon Musk. He's an innovator, right? If you guys saw recently, like a week ago, he caught that rocket out of space, right? Like they sent a rocket and then they caught it. It didn't have to touch down onto the ground. They literally like almost like two chopsticks caught the rocket ship. He innovated. He changed the way humanity is going to operate. We're going to become an interplanetary species because of this dude. So therefore, he's also the wealthiest man alive right now, worth over $233 billion. which is an unfathomable amount of money, because he's changing the way mankind is operating fundamentally. When you start to understand these levels, you start to realize, okay, cool, I can level myself up in my earning potential by going and learning skills that are on the communication side of things, that are on the implementation or innovation side of things. So let me pull this back here for a second. Now, something that I learned how to do with mastering my mind over creating more money has been to start to break things down. A lot of times we don't get to where we want to go because the goal in your mind is too unfathomable. It's too big. And I learned this from Bob Proctor. He said, when you set a goal, it doesn't matter how much you want to earn, it doesn't matter what you want to do, begin to break it down into the ridiculous. And I was like, what does that mean? He said, when you break it down into the ridiculous, let's say your goal is to earn $1 million. He said, my goal is 1 million. Well, he said, I want you to break it down until it makes sense for you. So he said, so can you earn 500K twice? I said, well, that's a lot. I don't know how to earn 500K. He said, okay, well, what about this? Can you earn 250K 4 times? Right? Well, again, I don't know how to earn 250,000. Okay, well, what about this? Can you earn 100K? Do you know how to earn 100K? Can you do that 10 times? At the time, I was like, well, I don't know how to earn 100K. And so he said, all right, let's just keep breaking it down, right? Because $1 million is only 100,000 10 times. It's like, well, what about this? What if we did 50,000 20 times, right? Well, I don't know how to do that. Okay, no worries. Break it down. What about 10,000 100 times, right? And we start breaking it down until it gets to the place where you can begin to wrap your mind around it. So maybe you're like, I don't know how to do $10,000, let alone do it 100 times. Well, do you know how to do $1,000? Well, yeah, I know how to make $1,000. Okay, cool. So you know how to make $1,000. So all you have to do is make $1,000 1,000 times. Well, can you sell a product for $1,000 and sell 1,000 of those products, 1,000 of those units? This is effectively how you would make $1 million. You start to break your goals down. You start to do the math. And here's what's interesting. When you do the math, the more often you do it, and the more often you look at these numbers and you break it down, your mind begins to assimilate and these numbers start to get normal. Like the first time I looked at this, I could wrap my mind around doing $1,000. Now, because I kept doing this process over and over and I kept working at it, it's easy for me to wrap my mind around $100,000. Like, for example, this past weekend, we just did a little over $128,000 in sales. Well, I did. I shouldn't say we. We as a collective did over 600 or over 500,000, just under $600,000 in sale in the 3-day weekend. But personally, I contributed a little over 100,000 to that. And so recognizing, wow, $1 million is only doing this 10 times. You start to break it down. Start to understand that when your mind starts to get accustomed to these numbers, when your mind starts to get used to these numbers, it's easier for you to start to believe that you can make it happen, that you can achieve it and make it work. So let me pull this back. I think I see our guest coming in here right now. I'm going to pull him up on the stage. Yo, what's up, Don?
My man, what's going on, bro?
Brother, how you feeling today?
Oh, tired, honestly, but good.
Dude,
Tired, but good. It's a good tired.
yo, it's good to see you, man. Because
Likewise.
you popped in at the perfect time where, and for those of you that don't know Don Rich, like you heard us talk about him a little bit last week when Sam and I mentioned that there's a certain person that we go to when my mindset needs a reset. Don Rich is one of those people that I pick up the phone, I text him, I call him, I get myself in contact with him because I talk about the campfire effect all the time about the people you surround yourself, how they change your frequency, how they change your vibration. Don is one of those people that has absolutely changed my vibration. Brother, you've helped me with just so many things with learning how to communicate, sales, and then just becoming a better person. So I'm happy to have you on here today as we continue this conversation around mastering your mind so that we can master our money.
Definitely very, very appreciative of you, man. And, when I'm saying my prayers, there's, quite a few people that I include in that from a gratitude perspective. And you're one of those people as well, because it's reciprocal. Whenever you and I have those conversations that are scheduled for 10 minutes and last 2 hours, it's just so much comes out that I think works as a healing mechanism for both of us, that it's therapeutic, and certainly appreciate our friendship and everything that we have going. And thank you for having me on tonight, man. And excited to talk to everybody and just have a normal conversation like we usually do.
Dude, that's it. And so, real quick, before we keep going, I see Steve Miller says that he's asking me if I can turn up my volume. Is anyone having issue hearing me? Is my volume coming through low? Guys, let me know in the chat if my volume's coming through low. Don, you can hear me loud and clear, right?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, perfect. So, Steven, it might be the volume on your side. So, see if you're able to turn up your volume. If not, let me know. So, Don, I want to ask you that, or like, let's talk about this for a minute, because I was just about to bring the conversation here.
Okay.
Which is when it comes, I started off this video. The first thing I said in the video was money is not the reason for your money problems.
Not at all.
Meaning, at the end of the day, we don't get what we want. We get who we are. I believe this, like I believe, in gravity, like I believe in the air I breathe, that
Right.
ultimately the results of my life are directly connected to, and I mean, it's like a perfect mirror of what's happening in my inner world, my self-image, my vibration.
As
Like,
within, so without.
beautiful, right? So as within, so without. And so with that being the case, what I've come to realize is I can lie with my words, but I can't lie with my vibration.
No, you're in any, well, and here's the dope part about it. Anytime your mental state is out of sync with your physical state, your mental state is going to win. Okay, that's a battle that your physical state is going to lose every time. And what people don't realize is, from going back to the Hermetic principles, one of the Hermetic principles is the principle of cause and effect. And the mind is the cause, your physical reality is the effect. And all too often, when we see people having money problems, relationship problems, whatever it is that they perceive as a problem, too often people try to change an effect by changing an effect. So they see something going on in their physical world, and so they just try to change something else within their physical world. I'm not getting enough money. I need to go work harder. My relationship is going to crap. Maybe I need to do a date night. Whatever that is, we try to change the effect by changing the effect instead of looking at the cause. And the cause was, it was whatever you were thinking consciously and subconsciously that was actually having the effect on your physical life. So anytime you find yourself in conflict from a physical reality, money or whatever else it may be, don't try to change the effect by going out and changing the effects, the physical side of things. You always have to go within. And to be biblical here for just a second, it's Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these other things in which you desire will be given unto you. And then you go a little bit further, a couple gospels later, because people were like, okay, well, seek ye first, whatever. Okay, seek ye first. Well, God tells you in Matthew, I think 17, verse 20 to 21, the kingdom of God is within you, or the kingdom of heaven is within you. So that lets me know that anytime I'm having an issue and I want something to change, or the desires that I want monetarily and otherwise, I have to first go within and seek ye first and see, where is there some conflict within me that is causing the effect for me not to have money, for me not to have the physical reality that I desire to have. And it's like I stay in what I like to call a frozen imagination. And for the beautiful thing is, like, your imagination, that's like your voice from God coming into you, kind of directing your path if you are aware of that voice. But when you're not, your life is going to be hectic. Your money is not going to be where you want it to be, keeping it on the theme of money here tonight, but that's also an effect in every other area in your life. And so once you realize the universe is mental and you have to start controlling the battle in here before winning the war out here, a lot of things will start to change in your life. And if you don't see the things changing, then go within.
Yeah, and it's funny, because here's what's like, I recognize this even in myself. I'm going to be personal about this, right? And I want everyone to be personal about this. When you listen to me and you listen to Don as you have this conversation, I want you guys to personalize the conversation and start reflecting internally about your own situation, right? Because that's where the change is going to occur. And so I found in my own personal situation very recently that I wasn't getting certain results that I wanted. And it took the sitting down. For example, right, we were going out and I mentioned earlier that we did this weekend, we did about $600,000 in sales, which is awesome.
Nice week.
But previous weekends, I wasn't hitting the numbers I wanted to hit.
Okay.
So going out this weekend, I sat down on the plane, right? I flew out to North Carolina and South Carolina. And I sat down on the plane and I really thought about, well, who am I when I'm operating at my best?
Okay.
Right. And when I got clear about, well, when I'm operating at my best, I'm not the person that's concerned with what you think about me. I'm concerned with being the person that provides the most value, regardless of how I look. I'm
Right.
the person that's involved with living with the most integrity. I'm the version of me that is willing to communicate my truth, no matter how it may sound. And so I'm going to show up as that person. Like I'm going to show up this weekend as that person. Damn with the results. I don't care what the results will be. But
Right.
by nature of showing up with that person and working on my own personal development with that meaning, like when I say integrity and showing up as that person, what does that look like? Like in practical sense, it means I said I was going to wake up at a certain time. I was waking up at that time, waking up at 5 o'clock to go hit the gym inside the hotel. I said I was going to only eat a certain amount of food. I ate the food I said I was going to eat. I said I wasn't going to drink. I didn't drink. I said we were going to stop doing work at this hour. We're going to stop. And I said we're going to start doing work at this hour. We're going to do it. I said I was going to be fully attentive. So I was keeping the promises I made to myself and living in alignment with that internal discipline. So I was conquering the self throughout the weekend. As a result of focusing on conquering the self, the results showed on the back end. One of the best weekends I've had in a while.
Well, Marlon, let me tell you how you've gotten to that place, because I've watched your trajectory here over the past 3+ years. And over that time frame, and just from the conversations that you and I had, I'm gonna, bring some of our private conversations personal without getting too deep into it. But you have embodied what a lot of people in society have not, and that is the courage to be disliked. So the moment that you start saying, and the moment that you are saying, hey, I'm going to be disciplined for myself, I'm going to do what it takes, no matter what anybody else thinks, and I'm going to do it with integrity, and I'm going to show up for me. The only time that people can consistently do that is when they have encouraged when they have embodied the courage to be disliked. And I don't mean going out there and being an a-hole to anybody. I mean that knowing that the I am that I am of who you are cannot be affected by outside influences. And once you get to that place, money becomes easier, simply because you're not worried about what the next person might think whenever you drop this. You're not thinking about what somebody else might do as a result of you doing what you want to do, and that's true to you. And you've also embodied the fact that your truth is your truth and other people's truths are their truth, and you cannot step on their truth and they can't step on yours. So that leaves one thing open for us: dialogue. And the moment that we're able to have dialogue with all of this, I'm giving you the courage to be disliked and not worry about what I think of you. And I'm expecting the same thing. It's not until you can embody that courage within yourself that you can break yourself of the social contract that you signed as a baby that says, in exchange for you giving me the love that I desire as a person, because humans want to be loved, we want to be liked, in exchange for me not having that or having that love, I'm going to conform to doing life the way that you want me to do life. And as long as you're living like that, your salary is going to be capped, because you're not going to go as high as you possibly can, because you're always going to be thinking about what someone else might think of you as a result of it. So when you embody the courage to be disliked, all of that goes out the window, because now you're stepping into your true essence, your true being, and some of the things that you oftentimes put into the shadow world. And what I call the shadow world is some characteristics about yourself that you hide from society based upon how society feels about it. And when you start, what a lot of people don't realize is that some of those characteristics are what's going to bring you to the greatness you desire. But because they go against the grain of what society says you should do, or what's appropriate, or what's right, or what's liked, or what's not liked, you start to hide those characteristics of yourself. Now, where do you see them? You see them in the mirror before you get in the shower. You see them as you're sitting on the computer and you're doing certain things. You're like, oh crap, man, that is a great idea. Like, let me go ahead and do that. But when it comes to actually releasing it and putting it out there to the public, you don't do it. And guess what? You know how I know that? Because I've done it, bro. I have like 7 ebooks on that I've written on my computer. I have 3 or 4 different coaching courses that I've put out on mindset and overcoming trauma and all this other stuff. But I had to first get over me and get over the courage or the discourage that I had in this sense of what other people might think about me or what I might say or how it might come out, because it's like, okay, I've had flaws, plenty of them. And it's like, okay, well, this person over here knows my flaws. So if I put this out, that's going to be completely opposite of the version of me that they know. But isn't that the point? You've changed, you've grown, you have rectified certain areas of your life that, at the peak or at their best at a certain point. And so when I'm coming back right now to frozen imagination, the reason sometimes that you cannot get out of that realm is because your own imagination is frozen right there at that scene of what other people are thinking of you, other people are saying, whatever it might be, because of an old version of yourself. So if you want to elevate to a new level of money, a new level of life, a new level of peace, then one of those steps of elevation is going to have to be getting out of that shell and understanding that as I continue to progress, there's going to be three types of people that come into your life at that time. One, the ones that said, oh, he changed. And they didn't. And that's okay. I can love you, but I just got to love you from afar because we're not on the same vibration anymore. Our frequencies are a little bit different. The other one is going to be somebody that's a little skeptical and like, ooh, I like this version of him. It's a little bit different. I don't know how to accept it yet. So I'm going to just sit back and I'm just going to wait and see if they stay consistent with it. And then you have the other people. And these other people are the ones that are probably going to be your biggest fans, because these are the people that didn't know the old version of you, only know the current version of you, and they're on the same frequency. And because of that, that's how you attract new followers. That's how you attract new friends. And that's how you attract new money opportunities when you get those people. So a lot of the times it's the people that you've been living with the whole time that are going to be in that first category. So whoever said no new friends, dummies.
Right. But, and what's funny, as you say that, right? Like it reminds me of something my buddy Sam used to say. He used to say, you're telling me you're too busy being broke to go get rich. Right. In other words, and like the rephrase it for like what we're talking about here, it's like you're too busy being the old you to be the new you. And we get caught up worrying about that. And, I couldn't help but think about when I think we all know this from the standpoint of, I'm seeing people in the chat saying like, oh, that's good. Like Kenny's like, yo, that's me. I'm still working on that. Alfred's saying, yo, it's so good. Christy says, I say it out loud that I don't care what people think about me. But deep down, I think so people are resonating with this message, which I love. And I appreciate you guys for throwing this out in the comments. When we have that trigger, like for me, for example, Don, when I'm at that crossroad of knowing I have to be authentic, there's like a feeling I get in my gut like this. I'm nervous. I'm scared to be rejected right now because I know that what I'm going to do would be me actually showing who I am. And if you reject that version of me, you can actually hurt me. You can't hurt the mask, but there I'm putting myself on the line to potentially be hurt. And that moment, I used to get scared. When that moment would come up, I would react to that moment by saying, it's time to go back into my cave. It's time to put on my people-pleasing face. And it's time to make everybody in the room comfortable. Yeah. I've been retraining myself to anticipate that moment is going to come. That feeling of discomfort will come. And what that means is that's a go signal. That's a green light. That's okay, whatever you're afraid to do right now, that's what you need to do.
You got to go all in.
Form of communication. Most of the time, the action step is you need to speak your truth in that moment. You need to say the thing that is coming to you in that moment.
Man, so good right there, because one of the hardest things I went through, I was in Utah with my life coaches, Larry and Annie Yatch of SEAL Team Leaders. And, we were in our week-long intensive. And one of the things that they had to do was like get your they were basically rewiring our subconscious minds. And what people don't realize is like what you're saying right now, those are elements of the subconscious mind that are basically the truths that you're living in, even though they might be false, because realistically speaking, every truth is only a half truth. And the reason I say that is because whenever you get more information that gives you information of the opposite, then your truth may change. And so what that allows me to do is continuously seek wisdom, because now I know that this is something that I might believe right now, but hey, there might be somebody to come along and give me more information that makes me change what I thought was true at one point. And what is truth? Truths are just ideas that you've had a frequency and resonated on for a period of time to where your subconscious now believes it to be what it is. So in your life there, Marlon, whenever you are getting inside of saying, oh crap, this is, I'm nervous right now, I'm going to have to be authentic, that is a level, that is your subconscious saying, hey, or your frequency. That's not a change. That's the frequency that you're currently on saying, I don't want you to go. Look, man, you've been rocking with me now for like 2 or 3 years. We've been on this same plane. You've had a decent life. You don't like the life we're living right now? You mean to tell me like you had a six-figure weekend? That's not good enough for you? And so right whenever you start to do something to show your authentic self, that frequency that you're currently living in is going to throw a wrench in your plan and say, hey, no, stay here. It's comfortable over here. We don't know what's over there. And so, guys, anytime in your life that you're looking at, I'm about to level up, I'm doing the things, I'm taking the action, I'm doing the affirmations, and then something goes wrong, I want to make you aware of what that is. That is the frequency that you're on, recognizing that you're trying to elevate to another frequency, and it's wanting to keep you there because it's currently in the comfort zone of it's in control of you. The frequency is controlling you, and it knows it's controlling you. And so as a result, it's going to throw different things in your life to say, are you really trying to change? Because let me throw this in here. Let me throw this at you real quick. It's like the horrible ex-girlfriend that was toxic, but you loved her. You loved the toxicity a little bit. And so they call you right back after 3 or 4 weeks of y'all breaking up, and you're like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go back. Do not. It's at that point that you make your breakthrough. Because if you can get past that, that's when your breakthrough comes. And that also ties back, Marlon, to your thoughts. And what I mean by that is, guys, and I shared this with you the other day, Marlon, the first thought that you have about something, whether it's about money, a relationship, situation, what a circumstance, whatever it might be, that thought does not belong to you. That thought belongs to the paradigm that you've been living in. And so it's an automatic response. You didn't even think about that thought. It was the automatic response. So for me, I'm a jokester. I love telling jokes. I love to laugh. It's one of my favorite things to do. And so whenever I recognize that I'm laughing at something and it may be a little bit inappropriate, I recognize like, hey, that was my first thought. That thought is not the frequency that I'm trying to get to. And so right there, that's where free will comes into play. Guys, you don't have control over the first thought that comes into your head about something. But as I was telling Marlon, one of the things that I've picked up is the phrase, and we all know this phrase, but now I'm using it a little bit differently. That phrase is on second thought. Okay. And what I mean by that is you don't control the first thought, but you have free will to control that second thought. Do I want to continue down the path of what I was just thinking automatically, or do I want to change my thought process to go towards the frequency that I'm actually trying to get on? And once you continue to disrupt where you're currently at and go and say, you know what, on second thought, let me think differently about this. Let me think towards the direction that I'm trying to go. You will notice the synchronicities in your life start to change to be more effective towards you and where you're going in life. And so think about how you think about money right now. And if a bill comes up or if something applies in your life that's a detriment or anything, pay attention, be aware of what that first thought that comes to your mind is. Is it the thought that's taking you towards the direction that you want to go, that's going to get you the better lifestyle, that's going to get you the desired reality that you actually want to live in? Or is it one of those thoughts that's going to keep you exactly where you are, keep you conforming to how other people want you to live, keep you with the characteristics that you have living in the shadows right now, keeping them in the shadows and not allowing you to progress in the way that life's good for you?
So I love that. And Don, I'm curious, right? Because recently and it's been more than recently, but I've been having conversations out loud with myself. When I'm alone, I will ask myself out loud, how am I feeling? Like, what am I thinking about right now? What am I feeling? And if I don't like the answer, I will speak out loud the new way I want to feel as a way of rewiring.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Right. Like, so I'm curious, because what I found is, at least for me, when I do this, the hearing it out loud, like thoughts always sound so amazing in your head, but then when you speak out loud, you're like, you actually catch more of the reality. And I find that I can't speak and think about something else at the same time. I can't multitask of thinking.
Nobody can.
Something else out loud. Right? I don't think anyone can. And this is why it's easy to catch liars. And so I've been using this as a methodology
Okay.
for redirecting and just ultimately deciding how I want to think, how I want to feel, and most importantly, how I want to act. Is this something that you've ever played around with?
So yes, and I'll say it in this term, in slightly different terms. Slightly different terms. Um, for those of you who don't know, does anybody, and y'all can look at the comments and see here, does anybody know the relationship between the raven and the wolf? Has anybody ever heard or seen, or yes, no, maybe so, the relationship between the raven and the wolf? In a completely uncommon relationship that you would not think exist. Okay. So I'll tell you here. The raven obviously has very, very keen eyesight, and it can see, significantly around. The wolf, great sense of smell, eyesight not so good. Okay. So when it comes time to eat, little known to us, the raven and the wolf actually like to eat the same thing. They both like to eat the same thing. Okay. So the raven can see where the prey is a whole lot better than the wolf. It can see the destination, it can see where you're trying to get to. The wolf can't, but the wolf can kill what the raven wants to eat. So when the raven sees the prey, it will fly down, swoop down, and land on the wolf for just a second, and then have the wolf follow it to where the prey is. Thus, the wolf can now kill the prey, and they both can enjoy the meal. I use my mind as the raven and my body as the wolf. Okay. And when I'm thinking about things of how I want to change, what I want to kill, what I want not kill literally, obviously, but what I want to kill in life, for where I'm trying to get to and where I'm trying to go, my mind is my raven, taking me where I want to go, showing me the direction, showing me where everything is. And so when it comes to thinking about it, I'm in my head, and the thoughts that I'm having, it's like, okay, all of the desires that I have are the solutions to my problems. And so when the raven is telling me this is the way to go for my desire, and I'm thinking about it in my head, the body must say, yes, I agree with that, or no, I don't agree with that. But more often than not, that's your God-given mind telling you, like, this is how you go. This is where you go. This is the direction. If you don't understand something, ask it out loud. Say it out loud. Say, hey, I don't understand that. Disrupt the pattern that you have going on right now, because it's not going to stop giving you ideas and showing where different opportunities are. And then at the same time, I use my friends sometimes as the ravens, and sometimes I'm theirs. It's like, hey, man, like when you and I are having conversations, it's a back and forth of sometimes I'm the raven, sometimes you're the raven, and we're leading each other to different things. Same thing with Kez and I. And so have those conversations, because when you are thinking in a manner that is leading you to your desired reality, it's going to sound crazy sometimes. And what you're going to be told to do is not always going to be comfortable. And you're going to disagree with it from time to time, but it is a necessary component of the growth that you're looking for.
It's funny that you brought it there, because first off, the raven and the wolf analogy, last week was the first time I heard of it. When you texted that over to me, I was like blown away. I literally looked it up because I was like, this cannot be real. And it turned out, I was like, holy crap, this is like a real thing. Like ravens and wolves work symbiotically in nature to feed, which you would never think about that. And so from that analogy of recognizing that, like, our mind is that raven, right? It ultimately sets the destination, it sets the target, it sets the goal. You mentioned that it's going to be uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And this is interesting, because this is what I've been finding to be true. The change is uncomfortable. When you start to be presented with the opportunities to become that next level of yourself, that next version of yourself, to move into that lifestyle, you're moving out of your known, you're moving out of the comfort zone, and you're moving into an unknown reality. It's only known in your mind, but it's unknown to your body, right? It's unknown to your past experiences. And that transition, there's a bit of disruption, right? There's a disruption in frequency, there's a disruption in vibration, because up until this point in time, you've been vibrating on one frequency, and now I'm effectively changing the channel. And so, like, there's that static that happens in between to change the channel. And I want to make that known. I want to, like, say that out loud, like, to anticipate that disruption, anticipate that uncomfortable feeling, because I think when people hit that uncomfortable feeling, they have conditioned themselves to respond with, this is wrong, I need to go back. Right. And guys, like, change doesn't always feel comfortable. In fact, rarely does it feel physically comfortable, but you can train your mind to associate benefit to that feeling. See, what I've learned is, Donovan, I've been going down recently, diving into the motivation behind movement, the motivation behind action.
Okay.
And ultimately, what I've discovered is everybody, their decision-making process is dictated by two main emotions:
Okay.
pain and pleasure.
Yep.
Everything we do is for the avoidance of pain and towards the movement of pleasure. Now,
Absolutely.
what we see is there's an unequal balance of the pain pleasure ratio, right?
Mhm.
Like, we will move faster to avoid pain than we will move to get pleasure, right? It's
Right.
pain aversion, it's loss aversion.
Right.
If you tell me that I'm going to, like, the house is on fire, that will get me running out of the house faster than if you tell me there's $100 sitting outside.
Right.
If I just run up the block, I'm more likely to move faster. Or if you tell me you're going to take $100 of mine if I don't get out of the house, that will get me moving faster than if you tell me I will gain $100 by running
Yep.
down the block. And so, with that being the case, pain and pleasure, people like to believe that some things are just naturally painful and other things are naturally pleasurable. But the truth is, it's just a mental association.
Yeah.
Because when you look at folks who go and, let's say, get tattoos, for example, like, let's say I had a full sleeve. Some of these people that get tattoos and they're tatted all across their body, you might say, like, doesn't that hurt? But they would tell you from their perspective, actually, the experience of getting a tattoo feels nice.
Yep.
We enjoy that feeling. Other people, you put the pen to them and they pass out from the pain. It's the same experience, experienced different ways due to the person's mental association. Same thing with working out. Some people, if they are told to run, they're like, it will kill me. Other people, they go and they put themselves under 600 pounds of weight and they squat it and they find pleasure in it because they've associated pleasure to the experience. And
Right.
so when it comes to creating change and looking at the things that you currently deem painful, you can mentally associate pleasure to the behaviors that you know are necessary for change.
Right.
If you're shy and introverted and you want to be able to get out there and speak your mind with more courageous activity and have more conviction, you could associate yourself going up and talking to strangers as a pleasurable experience because you associate it to the future identity that you want to become. And then you could also associate not talking to them, being a wallflower, to the pain of staying the same,
Right.
to the pain of, right, what's it look like 5 years, 10 years down the road to stay exactly the same? What's that look like? Probably not good. To be 10 years older, more bitter, less money in the bank, more gray hair,
Frozen imagination. You're stuck right where you were.
stuck
You
right where
know?
you were. So
It
it's associating that painful reality, that painful future to the inaction, right? To the action that you want to quit and associating the pleasure to the ones that you want to do.
I don't, and I like that you brought up pain and pleasure, especially from the emotional stance of it, because I don't think enough people understand that it's not the actions that you take, it's the emotions that you feel
Mm.
that bring into your reality whatever it is that you brought into your reality. The moment that people can stop pointing the finger at something or somebody else for a cause that has happened in their life and start taking responsibility of understanding, okay, there was a belief that I had that led to a feeling, that feeling led to a vibration, that vibration led to a frequency, because a vibration repeated over and over again is what a frequency is. That frequency led to an emotion. That emotion is what led to the action. That action is what led to the results, and that results led to my thoughts. The thoughts that I have after that, thus either solidifying or not solidifying my beliefs. But more often than not, it's going to solidify what you believed, because once you have a high enough emotion behind something, what's going to happen at that point is that the universe is going to start showing you evidence of what it is it feels that you believe. And so for 4 or 5 different people can look at the same thing, believe, and have different emotions towards those things and have very different results in their reality. We live in one world with 8 billion people who all live in their own world. So in essence, we live in a world with 8 billion worlds. because everybody is thinking and emotionally charged on a different way. And when you see the fact that your truth is just something that is emotionally charged, an emotionally charged thought that you've had over and over and over again, now you have to start paying attention to, where did that come from? Because now I need to get back to the cause of understanding was it something that I grew up with? Is it something that my parents told me, that they instilled within me? Where or did I pick it up on my own? And how can I change the emotional charge that I have towards something and recognize when it's happening? And so, like, right now, I understand that nobody can make me happy.
Yep.
My wife can, as beautiful as she is and as wonderful as a wife, of a wife that she is, she cannot make me happy. Happy is an internal emotion that I choose. And at the other part, a lot of people also have to disassociate themselves with the fact that they are not their emotion. They're feeling their emotion. So I'm not mad, I'm experiencing anger. And if I recognize the fact that I'm experiencing anger, then I can end the experience whenever I want to. I'm experiencing happiness, I'm experiencing joy, I'm experiencing frustration. And so when I take a step back from the physical and just step into spiritual for a second and be like, okay, this is an experience that I'm having. Let me see what was the trigger within me that caused me to have a belief, that caused me to have this emotional feeling towards this. Okay, it's not really true. Let me write down what I thought about it. It's not really true. So if that's not true, then that means that this emotion that I'm feeling can't be true. That means that I can step away from it and actually step into an emotion that I want to get in, because I've learned the fact that your emotions are what drives your actions and brings everything into your physical reality. Now, at the same time, I want everybody to kind of do this exercise, and not right now, but do it later on your own. But I'm gonna tell you what it is. In our mind, we have our desired reality. Okay, it is completely there. We know what it looks like. We know what it feels like. We know the house we live in, the car we live in, the car we drive, the family that we have, the business that we own, what we do in our free time. We can see it all with crystal clear detail. So at night, take about 10 minutes. Don't rush this, because you need to see it in full detail. You need to be paying attention to every minute detail, because it's going to make a difference. See everything that you have in your desired reality. See how you are as a person. Look at the activities that you do. Look at how you feel about certain things. Look at what you don't sweat. Like, I'm not worried about that anymore. Like, life's good. It doesn't bother me. Now, once you see that, the only difference between your physical reality, the one that you're currently living in, the one that's in your current frozen imagination until you can get out of it and change the picture, and the desired reality, the only difference between them are the actions that the person in the desired reality is taking. Okay. A lot of people say, when I get this, then I will do this, or then I will feel this way. You have to do like Neville Goddard, assume the wish fulfilled. And once you assume the wish fulfilled, then that allows you to assume the feeling that you will have from having that desired reality right now. And I really want to go deeper into this conversation and really hit on quantum physics real quick and how that works on it, but I'm not going to go there yet. Because I'm looking at the time, and that's a whole nother 30-minute conversation. But
Jeez, we might need to.
I got time tonight. But the thing is, man, when you're doing that exercise, close your eyes and start looking at everything. But then once you open your eyes, you need to start writing down, what is this what did that version of me do in the morning? What is that version of me? What is their routine in the morning? When it comes to emails, how does that version of me respond to these emails? How does that version of me treat my wife? How does that version of me treat my kids? How does that version of me treat my employees and the other people that work for me? What does that version of myself do that I'm currently not doing right now? And when you start doing those things right now, assuming the wish fulfilled and the feeling thereof, what you will notice is that your desired reality starts to come to you little by little. Little by little, it'll start opening up and coming into your life, and the things that you want and desire will be there. And all too often, we're stuck on this plane of saying, when this happens, then. That's not the way it works. You have to think and feel that everything past, present, and future is all happening at the same time. And if it's all happening at the same time, then all that means is that what you desire is already there.
It's waiting for you to step into it. It's not something that I wish, because what is a wish? A wish is an unfulfilled desire. And if you feel that, if you're saying that you wish, you're saying that I don't yet have the desire. I don't have what I want just yet. And so that therefore you cannot feel the way that you think you would feel once you get it. Look at the root word of become. The root word of become is to be. So I guess Shakespeare had it right a long time ago. To be or not to be, that is the question. And you must make the choice to be. And how do you be? Well, you be by A, assuming the feeling, B, assuming the actions that you see that version of yourself taking, and then C, stepping into that reality, because now the only thing that your subconscious mind knows is that's us. So now what do I have to do? I have to go out and provide physical evidence of the truth of what it is that we feel that we are. I am that I. How you finish that sentence is what you're going to get. So like right now, I've gone through hell the past, I guess, 8 months trying to open this mental and behavioral health clinic. But every time that before I would go to sleep at night, you know what? I would see it. I would see the patients that we had coming in. I would see our branch program working in the elementary schools with the students. I would see our Tranquil Transitions program working in the nursing homes and skilled nursing facilities. Like I saw every part of it. I would smile. When I was driving my car, I would act. I didn't even have a building yet. I would act like we were driving to the building right now because we had 20 patients that we needed to see that day. The past 2 days, I've been filling up the office with my kids. My kids have been off the past 2 days, so I'll release everything here in a couple days after we get all the furniture and stuff in. But for 8 months, I've been assuming the wish fulfilled and acting as if, even though that wasn't the case. But to me, it was. It may not have been the case to society, who couldn't see what I saw or feel what I felt, but it was real for me. And so when you start to embody that in your own life, that is when the wish, the desire fulfilled, or the wish fulfilled, will start to open up and actually be fulfilled. So some people are like, well, you're lying to yourself. Call it what you want. That just lets me know that your belief level isn't where you need it to be to get what you want, but mine is. And so it would, so it would be crazy of me to change how I feel because of how you feel. And so often that's the conformity part that keeps us where we are in life. When somebody else throws something out there, we're like, oh man, maybe they are right. The hell they are. So you're meaning to tell me like you're willing to abandon your truth because of another truth that somebody else said that you haven't seen evidence of, but because you now start adopting it, the universe is going to start showing you evidence of it, making you be like, see, man, they were right. No, they weren't. You just stopped believing.
Bro, that is, I just had to quote that. It would be crazy of me to change how I feel based on how you feel. John Rich, 2024. And what I appreciate about what you just said too, I mean, like for me, the nugget that you just said that you dropped that I'm personally taking away is the 8 months. 8 months of assuming the wish fulfilled, because it's so closely linked to the length of time it takes for a pregnant woman to give birth. And there's the law of gestation. There's a gestationary period where a seed is planted and then it has to grow. And during that time, I think about a pregnancy. When a woman is pregnant, what is the couple doing? They're preparing the nursery. They're painting the room. They're having the baby shower. Like they're doing all the things in preparation of the baby coming. So they are just assuming, right? And do miscarriages happen? Yes. Do false pregnancies happen? Yes. Do all these things that could prevent the child from coming happen? Yes. However, they are acting as if it is a guarantee, and therefore they are preparing the way. And so when we start to have these ideas, they're spiritual pregnancies, right? Like these these vibrational pregnancies occur when you start to get emotionally involved with the idea, with the vision. And you mentioned something else. You said at night before you go to bed, you sit down and you see the vision. You gave this as an exercise for all of us to visionaire, to imagine the reality that we want, to see it with all its beautiful detail. And
so that you can go out and start doing it, not just see it, not just visualize.
Exactly. So we can go and begin to give it action, which we're going to touch on in a second. But you said give it time. And I know a lot of people are like, but I don't have the time to give it. And I just want to remind you, if you're one of those people that you're thinking about, I don't have the time to give it, I want you to go and grab your cell phone, whether it's an Apple or an Android, and I want you to open it up, especially if it's an Android, and scroll all the way over to the side and look at how you're spending your time on your cell phone right now. And if your time on your cell phone is spent with, if you have even more than 30 minutes on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or any of the other social media platforms, that's your time.
You got time today.
That's where your time is. Pull it back. Instead of giving your time to society, give it to yourself. If you actually want to give to society, give it to yourself first, and then go out and act on that vision.
Right.
Act on that vision, because the truth is, and Don, you know what's funny? I just made a video today. So guys, later go check out on my YouTube page. I just put out a video on proper goal setting, and I walked through a clarity tool workshop. It's about 25 minutes long. It's fully in depth. And a part of it is I have people think about the version of themselves that they want to be 1 year from now. And then we start to identify, I make them in their mind. I have you close your eyes and I have you imagine that that 1 year version of you and today's version of you are standing side by side. And we had to compare, almost like a UFC fight. We had to compare your stats. And we had to see, what is it about that new person? What's the difference between you in the future and you right now?
Mhm.
And you might recognize, hey, that version of me in the future has more conviction, more confidence. They walk with their head held high, right? They develop sales skills. There's certain characteristic skills and attributes that they have developed. Well, guess what? You now have what it is that you need to bring into today. You don't need to be perfect at it, but you can begin it. Right? If you recognize the future version of you could play the guitar, right, like Jimi Hendrix, well, guess what you start doing today? You start playing the guitar. Are you going to suck? Absolutely. But it's the repetition of doing these things that's showing up each day as a guitar player. And what does a guitar player do? A guitar player plays the guitar. And over time, because you kept showing up and taking that action, you improve. You start to create that reality. But a lot of times we don't. Here's the thing. If I don't believe it's possible, if I don't believe I'm going to get to that level, if I don't think it's an option and it doesn't entice me, why would I show up and do it over and over and over? This is why Napoleon Hill said it. He said the starting point of all success is to have a burning desire. Right? What Donovan's exercise is having you do is having you go into your mind and uncover the burning desire. It's already there. You just need to look at it.
D said, I believe I will get to that level. D, you're already at that level. And the reason I say that, and so, you know, to assume that you will get something is to imply that you don't already have it.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that you imply that you don't have something, the more the universe will show you the truth of that. And so and this is with everything, you know, you can't say, oh, I wish or I will. I mean, I am. You know, I am. And people are like, well, you're lying to yourself. No, I believe that. And remember, we all live in different truths, which is why I can't rain on somebody else's parade whenever they say they believe something about themselves. I'm like, okay, who am I? Who am I to tell you what you can and cannot believe about you? And who are you to tell me what I can and can't believe about me? And so too often, you know, we like every problem that we come across in life is interpersonal, comes from interpersonal relationships. Okay. When you look back at every last one of your problems that you have, typically it comes from some type of interpersonal relationship that you have with somebody else. And a lot of times as well, it's because we are stepping outside of our own tasks. We have 3 tasks in life: tasks of work, tasks of love, and tasks of friendship. And in those are many different realms, you know, in many different levels. But the moment that we try to, I would say, not change, but the moment that we try to step into somebody else's task that they have for their own life is when we start seeing conflict and problems. And so a lot of times it stems from them not doing what we want them to do. They not doing what we want, or we not doing what they want us to do. And then us having an opinion about it. and stepping on somebody else's tasks of love. If somebody doesn't like you, it is not your task to make them like you
Yep.
at all. Because the more you try to do something about that, the more you are going to be very, very, very unhappy with yourself. And now you're going to start telling yourself some horrible stories that's going to keep you away from getting to where you want to get to in life, your desired reality. You know, and Annie and Larry, they call it our desired end state. So whenever, and I've you know, was with them for a couple years from a life coach standpoint, and Larry is this crazy ass Navy SEAL. All right, he single-handedly changed how the Navy SEALs breach ships at night, and so you know, like I remember the very, you know, first time that we met all in person, like he was used to tell us like a couple stories, and one of them was like, he was like, yeah, I wouldn't feel comfortable in a public place unless somebody was trying to kill me. I was like, I don't desire that level of comfort. You know, it's just, that's not something that's for me. But at the same time, Larry never tried to overstep his tasks. If it was something that he did not agree with or something that he wanted more, you know, wanted to get a better understanding of, he just asked a question. Tell me more about that. Why do you feel that way? What evidence do you have? And this was a good one. What evidence do you have to back that up? So let's talk about the fear in somebody in your life right now. Okay. The fear to do something. And a lot of times when you're getting those feelings of anxiety within your body because you fear something or because you are trying to do something, what you're doing is acting out something that is not going to happen more often than not, unless you keep thinking about it, then it will. And you are portraying that whole thing out. You're playing it out in your head like a 4K movie, and you're seeing all the bad that's happening to you. When you start to do that, I want you to stop immediately and ask yourself, what evidence do I have of this being true? And really think about it. Really, really, really dive deep into it, because what you're going to notice is more often than not, you have absolutely no evidence of whatever scene you just played in your head. You have no evidence of it being true. What you have are snippets and beliefs of what could happen and all of the possibilities out there in the quantum realm that could happen. And whichever one you focus on is the one that's going to materialize. And so once you start to recognize that and you're like, okay, well, this is, you know, obviously that is an option that can happen, but what, like the way I'm playing it out right now in my head and in my life and my heart is palpitating, like what evidence do I have of that actually being true? None. So if I have no evidence of it being true, I've played it out and I know that's not how I want it to go, why don't I just change the story? But we've been conditioned with fear. Fear, you know, fear is an ego thing. As funny as it sounds, because it's like your ego is going to be bruised. So what you're playing, the scene that you're playing out with fear is your ego being bruised. And your ego having a certain feeling about what's going to go wrong. How's my image going to be hit? What's this going to do to my social status? What's this going to do to my lifestyle, to this, to that, the other? The ego is holding on to it so tight. And that's where the story is playing out, because your ego is saying, well, if this happens, then this is going to happen, and this is going to be the end result, and this is how you're going to feel about it, and all these terrible things are going to happen, and we're going to be ruined. I'm going to be ruined. The ego is now talking to you. We're going to be ruined. It's having a conversation with your spirit. Are you going to let this happen to us? And your spirit just like, oh, crap. Do we go along with him? This is the conversation that you're having in your head. You just don't realize that it was those two voices talking, or some people don't realize that. But that's what's going on. And so once you become aware that's what's going on, you're like, okay, I have no evidence of it being true. It's all being made up. My ego has no perception of how my spirit operates. And I actually have nothing to worry about. And guess what? If it did happen, it only happened because I thought about it that hard and I put enough emotion into it for that emotion to materialize what it is I was thinking about. Change my emotion on it. Now, guys, what I'm telling you, it's not overnight.
Yep.
It is not an over like there have been several struggles for me to get to a point of being okay with being disliked. Several struggles, because I was a person that, from a perspective of wanting to be liked, needing to be liked, it was in me, and a lot of it came from the fact that I associated love growing up from my parents with getting good grades and being admirable. And it was, it was because, like, I went to a private school, and I know my parents didn't necessarily have the money to pay for me to go to private school. And so they would always tell me, more so my mom than my dad, like, hey, you need to be, make sure you're not wasting our money, make sure that you're getting over there and you're getting good grades. So like pre-K through 12th grade, like, man, bro, I killed everybody academically. It wasn't until I got to college where I was like, hold on, they're not here telling me how I gotta do this work. I'm no longer associating love because I'm not coming home to them every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where I adopted the mindset that I could make up a test, but I couldn't make up a party. And so that was my college days, as short-lived as they were. But all too often, man, we don't understand how fear is operating and what is going on when fear is attacking you and anxiety is attacking you. And it's like, now I have therapists that work for me, and I talk to them on the cognitive behavioral side of things, like, and try to get what I read and what they learned in school and see where the two kind of match up at, where are we in disagreement at, and where are we in agreement at. And we're all in agreement in one thing. It's all mental. It is all mental. And so we're trying to change your mind and change the way that your mind operates and the story that you're telling yourself, and making sure that you stay on your personal tasks of love, friendship, and work, and not try to affect somebody else's, because that's when your problem starts to get bigger. And that part there, that's more of, we're mixing two things here. We're mixing Freudian psychology and Adlerian psychology. Freudian psychology says that, there's cause and effect. Adlerian psychology states that the effect is a goal that you had. You wanted to get there. And so you used another mechanism to make sure you get to your goal. Let me give you an example of that. I have kids. Some of you on here might have kids. If your kid comes home with a note from the teacher telling you how horrible your kid was in school that day, you're going to instinctively, depending on what type of parent you are, you might start yelling at that kid, just going hard on them for how they embarrassed you or whatever it might be. You got the school sending notes home and things like that. But let's say in the middle of you doing that, your phone rings and it's one of your friends. Instinctively, you change your voice. Hey, what's going on, man? Oh, nothing. I'm just in here, man, having to get on this kid. You doing all right? Yeah. Hey, you want to go golfing Saturday? Perfect. Set up the tea time. I'll be there. And then as soon as you get off the phone, you go back and just start yelling at your kid right there. So if we're looking at Freudian psychology, we're going to say that because your kid got a good grade, you got angry. The cause was your kid getting a bad grade. The effect was you getting angry and screaming at them. But if you look at that example right there and then look at it from an Adlerian psychology side of things, you're going to recognize, or not necessarily, but you will see that there's another side of that coin to look at. I had a goal of getting angry and yelling at my son or at my daughter, and I used their bad grades in this note from the teacher to achieve that goal. I was going to do it no matter what. I just needed a catalyst to help me get to the goal that I had in my mind in the first place. So it wasn't necessarily the bad note that I got that caused me to do that. It was the fact that I was going to yell at them, and I used the note as the methodology for me to achieve my goal of yelling at them. So the goal was fulfilled, and if it wasn't going to be the note, it was going to be something else. Now, are you subconsciously sitting here saying, hey, I'm going to yell at my son today. I'm going to yell at my daughter today? No. But there might be something that's triggering in your life, and you can't yell at somebody else. And so they just happen to be the person that's right there. And then they bring you something that allows you to fulfill that goal. So it's always a couple different ways to look at something. And so I ask myself, okay, is this truly a cause and effect? Or did I have a goal of doing something and I'm using something else to get to that goal? Same thing with your life. Go ahead, my bad.
Well, and it's spot on, right? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's coming back to what is it that you're thinking about that you want to achieve, and what are you aiming for? What are
Yep.
you aiming at? And earlier, you mentioned that we have these thoughts, and it's something that popped into my head. That's why I started sharing the screen because I was like, dang, this is so good. You mentioned how we sometimes have these false thoughts in our mind,
Mhm.
right? And let's say this false thought looks like this. It's like a big wall blocking you from getting to where you want to go.
Okay.
Except, and it's a pretty damn big wall, but you see
Yeah.
there's this one little break. There's this one little spot, like that wall is 99.9% impermeable,
Okay.
except for that one little point where, hey, is it possible that this belief I have is false? Is there something that
Yep.
potentially is not true about this wall that I can get through? And I have the ability, me standing right here, I have the ability to look and walk wherever I want. Could I
Mhm.
not choose then to go here? And now it brings me onto the other side of the wall where, again, I may be met with another wall, another situation. But
Right.
again, using my capacity to choose, my capacity to ask the question, where do I want to focus? Can I then say, hey, you know what? I'm going to focus to go here. And this becomes the maze which we work our way through to get to where we want to go.
Right.
And it becomes this maze of choice. And if I were to just continue to take action blindly without intention and to not ask the question, where do I want to go? I could just keep doing this, just keep bouncing back and forth off the wall. And I'm doing a whole heck of a lot, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm not progressing anywhere, although I'm
Right.
making a lot of motion.
Okay.
It's
Yep.
that focus of knowing I'm going to go to where I'm looking. I'm going to look for where's the opportunity, where's the progress, where's the growth, where's the in this lie that's holding me back, where's the break in the armor, in this false belief that I have, where is the possibility? Is this totally true? And if it's not totally true, well, then where's the part of it that is false that can benefit me? It's reframing the thinking,
It
right?
is.
Again, this is
That's
why
good.
I'm happy that you brought this up because this is why personally, again, I've been speaking out loud to myself because these walls seem impermeable until you start speaking out loud and you start looking for and you start seeking out the break. And I think you'd be the first to mention the equation, right? You know, seek and you shall find, right? Asking,
Knocking the
knocking, right? It's
knocking the door will be open, asking it should be given unto you. It's that
right.
simple.
It's that simple.
It's that simple. And the other thing is I can't remember the verse. I mean, I can't remember where it is in the Bible, but God is no respecter of men. And I had to read that verse like a
Wait, say that
few
again. God is
times.
no respecter of man.
God is no respecter of men. Okay. Hold on. I got to look it up.
Yeah, that's good because I don't think I've heard that one. And guys, by the way, if you're getting value from this, I know we're already 13 minutes over the hour because personally, I'm enjoying this conversation. Right. This is one of those episodes where I'm like, I can just sit here and talk about this all night. So if you guys are getting value from this, go ahead and drop a comment in the chat. Let me know if this is valuable to you. I saw somebody earlier, I think it was Kenny, said that this was one of the most valuable episodes he's watched. But let me know for the rest of you guys. Is this valuable? Is this helpful? If not, me and Don could take this phone call. We could take this as a phone call. We can get offline and I can go for a
Facts.
walk. Let me know if you guys are finding value. Drop some comments in the chat.
Let's see here. Is it Acts 10, 34, 35? Yeah, Acts 10, 34. Then Peter opened his mouth and said, of a truth I perceive that God is no respecter of persons, but in every nation he that feareth him and worketh righteously is accepted within him. And so I take that verse and I kind of go a couple different directions with it. One is the fact that with everything being mental and God being in your heart, the fact of saying that God is no respecter of persons. Your accolades and everything that's happening in the physical sense doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If your mental is not where it needs to be to align with your physical, to make sure that the coordination of bringing your desired reality into your physical reality is not there, then God isn't going to answer that prayer and say, God, please, please, Lord, hey, I just need help with this. Please get me out of this situation. And you're saying it with your mouth, but you don't believe it with your mind. And so it's like, I don't care how many times you pray to me. Believe in what you ask for. And so if you're just saying it with your mouth, but you're not believing it with your mind, God, what is it saying to me? What it's saying is, I'm not going to respect or listen to that prayer, because you have to believe first. So it doesn't matter who the person is. The Pope himself can come up and say some different things, but if the Pope doesn't believe in what he's saying, God isn't going to grant it. So when I look at God is no respecter of persons in that verse, that's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling like, okay, it doesn't matter how many times I'm praying. I have to believe. And then I got to ask myself, well, if I believe it, then why am I consistently praying for it? Why don't I just give it, accept it, believe it, and keep going about my business and know that maybe it won't be done right now, but it shall be done when it needs to be done. And that brings me back, I guess, what I like to call the law of I think it's the law of identical harvest. Okay, the law of identical harvest, and basically the law of identical harvest is stating that what you're planting, it's what you're sowing is what you're going to reap. That's the gist of it. What you're sowing is what you're going to reap. It's the law of identical harvest. So if you are sitting here and you're praying your words, you're praying, for whatever it is that you want in your life, more money. Since we started this talking about money, I knew that we would get somewhere.
I knew we were going to move. I mean, because this is more valuable of a conversation, quite frankly, because money is just one thing to create in your life, and money is important. Nothing takes place of what money does inside of your life, right? But it's not the only thing. It's one thing. It's an important thing. However, this is how to get everything.
Right. Get all the, get the money, get whatever it is that you want, get the life that you desire. And so, when you look at the law of identical harvest, you really pay attention to what you plant and how you water. Because if that law is true, well, then you can't plant a seed and then water it with what's that stuff Monsanto makes? Roundup. You can't plant that seed and then water it with Roundup and expect to get the fruit that you want.
Yep.
You
can't plant that seed and expect to get anything else. Like, I can't plant an apple seed and expect to get oranges off the tree.
Right. And so once you recognize that, it's like, okay, if that's the case, then every night, if I'm praying for the same thing over and over and over again, what I'm basically saying is I either didn't believe it when I prayed it, or at some point throughout the day, I lost faith. I lost faith in what it is that I was praying for. And so now I got to come back and I got to re-pray for it again. And you have a heavenly Father that's like saying, man, do you not believe that I shall give to you? Go ahead, my boy.
It's funny because you saying that just made me think about it in a way I've never thought about it before, where it's like you go in when you're a kid and you ask your parents, like, Mom, can I go sleep over at Don's house tonight? And she says yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But she said, I'm not giving you a ride, but yeah, you can go ahead and sleep over. And me wanting to go sleep over at the house, I just keep, but Mom, can I sleep over at Don's house? Mom, can I sleep over at Don? At that point, she's already given me the yes. What do I need to do? I need to go get on my bike and start riding down the block. I got to go do, now I need to behave as the wish has been filled. I got the thing I wanted. And so now the watering of the seed is the behavior and action that is congruent to, yes, you are allowed to have it. Now go get it. Go have it. Dang.
So that's a very good way to think of it, by the way. Very good way to think about that.
Like the whole little picture. The picture popped into my mind because effectively, we talk about planting the seed, but what does a farmer do after the farmer is responsible for two things: planting the seed and watering the farm.
That's it.
Right? He doesn't grow the tree. He doesn't put the acorn and then grow the tree.
Not
he
his
puts
task.
The acorn, he makes the water. God takes care of the growing, And then the farmer comes back in for chapter 4 to harvest.
But you see, the ego wants to know how so bad. Because the ego wants to be able to go out and tell the how story. The ego wants to come on podcast and say, this is how I did it, and this happened, and let me tell you this, and this, and I mapped it all out. No, you didn't. The how was never in your hands. And the fact that we try to control the how, when you try to control the how, you increase the time. Okay? When you try to control the how, you increase the time. Let it go. Let it go. Just know what, focus on the what, and focus on the feeling when the wish is fulfilled. And if you've ever read any of Neville Goddard's books, man, I'm on a Neville Goddard kick right now. I've like every morning in the gym, and I'll tell you exactly who I listen to. So there's this guy named Josiah Brandt, and he just dove into literally re-recording all of Neville's work, and from an audio standpoint, from his books to his seminars, and his like whenever Josiah Brandt is reading it, it's like you're listening to Neville just speak it into your soul. And so, that goes back, and he links, God in your life to your imagination and the thoughts that come into your head. And I won't go there tonight with anybody, but the fact that when you do get on that belief level and you start to recognize the power that you have within you, miracles are no longer miracles. Miracles are just the how. And so, because, and you believe in it so much, like the reason something seems miraculous to you is because you lack the faith for it to happen. So when you lack the faith for it to happen and something happens, oh my God, it's a miracle.
Miracles
it's
happen
not.
every day.
Miracles happen every day. You can produce them in your life if you recognize that you have what it is to take to provide them into your life with your belief system. It's the fact that when you don't believe that, it seems miraculous. But to the person that's on the frequency of knowing that they're one, Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 1:26, the first thing God told us, and this again comes from a mentor of both of ours, Myron. The first thing that God told us about us, that he's a creator. And then 25 verses later, he told us the first thing he wanted us to know about us. He created man in his likeness and image. So God created us to be a creator. And so if I know that I was created to be a creator, then why am I worried about what's not being created around me when I know I have the power to create it myself? And then you fast forward that to guys, like Wallace D. Wattles. Like last year, typically I pick one book. I read a lot of books, but I pick one book each year that I just go hard on, and I'll read it over and over and over and over and over again. Last year was The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. I read that book, 62 times in 57 days. And, it's a short book. It's 2 hours, but it's like, I chose to go hard on that. This year I Know My Father by Neville Goddard. That's the one I'm going hard on this year. But when you look at these statements, okay, and what's in there in that book, like I wear a bracelet every single day, and I have 100 of them in my backpack typically at all times to just give out to people. It says, do every day all that can be done that day, and do each act in a successful manner. It is just a constant reminder to me. But this monologue right here, there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, in which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces of the universe. A thought held in this substance, that substance being imagination, a thought held in that substance creates the ability to produce the thing that is imaged by the thought. Man can create things with his mind, and by impressing his mind upon the original substance can cause the things he thinks about to be created. In order to do this, man must cross over from the competitive plane to the creative plane. So what does that look like in people's life? That looks like from living life on a pie scale to getting into a garden. Okay. From a pie perspective, the reason that we have the pie chart and pie mentality of certain things is because the pie side of it comes from competition. We feel that there's not enough of something that we can't go out and create. If all the trees left, and they were all cut down. Somebody that is not on that frequency doesn't believe that they can't think in their mind enough and to create the tree from the substance, from the formlessness that everything else was created from. So when you live in a pie mentality, you have to get your piece of the pie. You have to look at every fad that goes on, whether it's going to be, the Airbnb fad that's going on or that was going on. Look at all the different fads in real estate. People try to get in quick because they're like, oh, I got to get my piece of the pie. It's hot right now. I got to get my piece of the pie. But you see, when you do that, you're essentially saying that I cannot create more of it when it's gone. It's done. So I got to get my little piece. I'm just trying to get my nudge right now. And B, on top of that, when it's gone, I might be left out. I might just be left out altogether. And I don't want to be left out either. So I want to get a piece and I don't want to be left out. That is a very, very simplistic mindset to have, because now you're downgrading the own power that you were given in the very beginning of the Bible. The power to create. And so that's why we're in a garden. Okay, because the garden is the only place where production produces consumption. Consumption produces production. You have to eat an apple to get the seeds, to replant the seeds. And I guarantee you this, there's not a single seed that's only produced a single apple. And so the more that you consume, the more that you're able to go out and plant and produce within your own life. At that point, you're not worried. I know I'm bringing the back full circle now. You're not worried about the how. You're not worried about the how. You're only worried about what you want, and you're keeping your mind on what you want, and then you're assuming the wish fulfilled. And then when you assume the wish fulfilled, you assume the feeling of it. The feeling is going to elicit the emotion. The emotion is going to have you taking the right actions. Things are going to start coming out of places that you never knew. I will tell you this. I have a prime example right now. I was buying some chairs for the waiting room in the office, right? And I was looking at buying some. And I messaged a lady on Facebook Messenger, like, hey, like our colors are this dark green. Like the chairs that you have, I think I kind of like them. So I sent a message to her. Turns out I sent it to my partner, Brian. Brian's like, hell no, those are ugly. I don't like them at all. I was like, bro, I was just going for the color. But whenever I started talking to her more, I said, yeah, this will go great in our therapy office. She's like, are you a therapist? I said, not at all. I just had an idea and I hired the right people. I go, ma'am, I didn't even finish undergrad. Like, I just had an idea and I hired the right people. And now, yeah, we own a mental and behavioral health, outpatient health facility. And then she goes, that is so crazy. I was like, why? She goes, I own a DPC. DPC stands for direct primary care. These are doctors that still basically do house calls. Okay. When you see direct primary care, they do a lot of work via telehealth and then they also do house calls. And so direct primary care organizations typically work with underserved demographics and people that can't come out to them. And a lot of people that, may not go to your standard doctor, but they're always looking for collaborations. I told Bryant about a month ago, like, hey man, we're going to get in with some of these doctors to do collaborative care to where they do the primary care side of things. But then if they need to partner with somebody to send them for mental and behavioral health, they can send them to us. Their EHR system and our EHR system can match up. We can send notes back and forth. That way we're providing the entire collaborative care for the needs of this patient. I didn't know how I was going to do it. Didn't worry about how I was going to do it. Bro, I can screenshot the messages to you from today. She said, oh my gosh, we're a direct primary care agency. We're located right here. She told me what their address was. Her address is 6 minutes away from our clinic.
Yep.
6 minutes away from our clinic. She's having a grand opening on November 26th. She was like, can you please come out? I said, ma'am, I will be there on the 25th. It is all good. I'll spend a night at the clinic. But she goes, we're always looking for organizations like yours that we can recommend our people to, because we don't do anything from a mental health perspective. And just like that, I did not worry about how it was going to get done. I just knew what was going to get done in the mind frame that it was going to get done. And all I had to do, ask and believe, and ye shall receive. And that's what I did, and just kept doing the work. And now we're putting, first class mail packets together to send out to all the doctors that are in our area, because we're in a medical building that has, I think, like 30 or 40 other doctors in there. But that was like, dang. And then the first day that we moved in, we're sitting here, we're like, man, we're like, we didn't recognize the undertaking that this was going to put on us from a financial standpoint. Like, this is crazy. But it's like, now we got to start getting clients. The day we moved in, the receptionist from the doctor across the hall comes over to us, and she's like, I've been waiting for 2 weeks for y'all to open. I was like, oh, you got to wait about another week or so. We're trying to get everything in. I go, thank you, just like, hey, I appreciate you. I was like, but why? She goes, my son needs therapy right now. And he goes to the children's hospital in the area, and they do not have a therapy sessions available for him for any of the kids. And so when I heard that y'all were moving in across the hall from us and what y'all did, I've been sitting here patiently waiting for one of y'all to come through the door so that I can go introduce myself. And bro, I'm sitting here like, oh, we're taking on about a $4,000 rent. And I'm like, oh, let me shake. I'm opening the lock like this. Like, God, we got to make sure, that we got to have enough patients coming in to fulfill that. Before we even open the door, she's meeting us outside. And I just looked up and I said, you know what, God, you're right. I don't have to worry about the how.
Yep.
Open the door. Open the doors, because there's more people that need it than not. And just worry about giving the care that we need and providing the services that we want to provide to help the people that we want to help.
Man, that's powerful, because you got rid of worry. Guys, if you are loving this, if you're like, these sort of conversations, these are the conversations that personally recharge me. Donovan, thank you for coming on tonight.
My pleasure, my man. It's been always a pleasure.
Yep.
This is basically our private conversations out in public.
This is a phone call, right? This is what my phone calls with Don looks like. And people know me as the talker. I like being able to stop and listen, right? And like, you're one of those people, when I listen to, it fills the cup up. So I want to know from people, if y'all got value from this, would you want to see another episode with me and Don? Or would you want to jump onto a Zoom? I'm going to have to see if I can get Donovan to do this. Would y'all want to jump on a Zoom with us where we have this kind of conversation, and then you can also ask your questions?
Yeah.
Let me know. The best way to do that is going to be DM me. Now, DM me on Instagram. Now, Donovan, you recently changed your name on Instagram. How can
I haven't yet. I haven't yet. It's changed. It's going to change here, I think, to like right after Thanksgiving. But right now it's Group Home Don. But after Thanksgiving, it'll be the Attitude Alchemist, where I'm putting together basically all of the teachings that I've been consuming myself with, from Freudian psychology, Adlerian psychology, quantum physics, everything from a mindset perspective, putting that together and delivering it all out. But what I had to realize was, even the success and failures in real estate, and just everything that I've been through has consistently led me back here to wanting to work on people's minds. And that is, wanting to work. I haven't even updated any of this stuff yet.
I just want people.
You already know my problem is, I don't.
Guys,
yeah, I don't.
This is where I want y'all to go and follow Group Home Don. Right? Like, he's one of the few people that I'm still following on Instagram. And this is what you're going to do. Follow him. Make sure tonight you're going to screenshot that you're watching this. If you got value from this tonight, I want you to screenshot this. I want you to tag me, tag Don, and tag Sam, right? And share that on IG. That's how I'm going to know who's interested in us doing a round two. And then if you guys want, if you're an entrepreneur who's making at least $10,000 a month, join into our school. I'm going to have Don come inside here, and we're going to do a private talk. It's going to be free for the people inside my school. But the thing is, the school is only going to be open to people who are doing at least 10,000. I am sorry, I am discriminating now because we cut the room down to just about 200 people. So there's just 200 entrepreneurs inside there who are doing over 6 figures a month, over 6 figures a year. Guys, Don clearly loves what he talks about. He clearly loves this topic. I clearly love this topic. If you want to continue this conversation, make sure you're tagging us on IG. And then I'm going to do something for everybody too. I'm going to do something where it's going to be open format for everybody. Donovan.
Yes, dude, sir.
Thank you for being here tonight, brother.
Thank you, my brother. I'm always elated to talk to you, man. Like, because it refuels me as well. And I've had, several 16, 17-hour days here lately. And, the refueling of it is simply amazing, because we're on we're on a frequency together right now that is continuously elevating both of us and elevating those around us as well. And that's exactly what both of us want to do. And I will say this, guys, when think about this for just a second. And this is for everybody. How would you feel if you were completely free? Okay? Free of those terrible thoughts that consume your head, free of the feelings that you have that are not conducive to your growth, free of the problems, both real and perceived, because your truth is your truth, you know, and I'm not going to deny anybody of their truth. And I hope that nobody would deny me of mine, unless they provide me evidence of the opposite to make me, you know, believe something else, or evidence somewhere else to believe something different. But how would you feel? All those things that consume you and disallow you from being the best version of yourself. How would you feel if you were completely free? And the answer to that question came in the feeling that you got if you just truly thought about it. And so now you have something to chase. You have something to acquire. Because I remember the first time I did that exercise, I was like, the feeling that I got inside was so relieving. I was like, oh, if I take all this crap off of me, holy shit. Like, this how it feels?
Yep.
Like, this is how it feels. And so now I try to do that exercise at least once or twice a month to say, okay, because, you know, every month you get new problems come along. So I try to take everything off and be like, okay, this is how it feels if I was truly free. And so now it's like, okay, that is the new desire. The desire isn't for more money. The desire isn't for more time. No, the desire is to assume the feeling of complete freedom at all times. How do I walk around like that? Because now I know what it feels like and how much stress is off of me and how my gut feels and the rest of my body and everything else. It's amazing. How do I bottle it? So take the desired reality exercise that we did earlier and mix it with the feeling of freedom. And you may only have that you may only feel that feeling for like 2 or 3 seconds max. But those 2 or 3 seconds feel the best you felt all day. Because I took it off for just a second. I took this coat off. This weight that I'm just carrying around with me at all times. And I don't know what it is for everybody, but I know you got it. We all do. You try to escape it. Some of you, my problem was I tried to drink it away. 5 years of sobriety now. Best feeling ever. And once you do that, those 2 exercises, you start to get a lot of clarity. You get clarity on a couple different things. One, who likes you and who doesn't like you, and other people's opinion of you is none of your business.
Mm-hmm.
None of your business. 2, you start to recognize the fact that everybody around you, your spouse, your kids, your friends, they all live in a completely different world than you live in. And in their world, their truth is their truth. And in your world, your truth is your truth. So before I attack, I ask. Because I need to get understanding of what's going on in your world. And then finally, you start to understand that everything is mental. All of it. And when you control this game, this matrix that we're in, you start to control that too. And you don't control it with the how. You just know what you want. And now you know the mechanisms in which you have to go through. Feel. The feeling becomes a vibration. The vibration turns into a frequency because it's repeated. That frequency turns into an emotion. Bottle the emotion and watch your reality change.
Guys, I love it. Donovan, I appreciate you. Guys, if you are new to the channel, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. We will be back next Tuesday, 5 o'clock Arizona time, for another episode of Think Big. And let me know in the comments, do you want to see Don back up here? Donovan, you're a freaking man, brother.
Thank you, my brother. Likewise. I appreciate you having me on tonight, man.
Of
I
course.
wish Sam was here.
We're
Hello.